In 1979, a young Australian doctor named George Miller unleashed Mad Max upon the world. This low-budget thriller movie managed to gross over $100 million at the box office. Little did anyone know, it was just the beginning of an epic saga. Over 4 decades, Mad Max evolved from a revenge tale to a global phenomenon. It launched Mel Gibson's career, reinvented itself with Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, and pushed the boundaries of practical effects. But with the release of and failure with fans of a new chapter with Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, we must ask ourselves, are spin-offs of an epic saga a mistake? What is a Mad Max Saga without Mad Max? Even with big names like Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy, with Furiosa spin-off movie did not do so well at the box office with a budget of $168 million and taking in only $173 million, compared to Mad Max Fury Road, which was a big hit with a budget of $150 million and taking in $380 million. So what's to be learned, and more importantly, what's next in the Mad Max saga? Or is this the end? Let's dive into the detail in this video. And as usual, a quick ask: if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. It's a simple click for you, but a huge deal for us. Thank you. Part 1. The Birth of a Legend, Mad Max, 1979. Mad Max, the film that kickstarted one of cinema's most enduring franchises, roared onto screens in 1979 with a budget of just 400,000 Australian dollars. Despite its humble beginnings, the film would go on to gross over 100 million worldwide, breaking box office records and becoming the most profitable film ever made at that time. But the road to success was far from smooth. At its core, Mad Max is a story of loss and revenge. We meet Max Rockatansky, a Main Force patrol officer trying to maintain order in a world rapidly descending into chaos. Played by a young, relatively unknown Mel Gibson, Max was a character caught between his duty to uphold the law and the brutal reality of a world where the law was repeatedly becoming meaningless. The film's success was nothing short of miraculous. Critics and audiences alike were captivated by Miller's kinetic direction, the raw performance, and the heart-stopping vehicular stunts that would become a hallmark of the franchise. While many post-apocalyptic films of the era depicted societies long after their fall, Mad Max showed us the slow, agonizing death of civilization. It was a mirror held up to the anxieties of the late 1970s. Oil crisis, economic instability, and social unrest. This film was a hit, crossing the Rotten Tomatoes score of 90%. Part 2. Mad Max 2. The Road Warrior, 1981. 2 years after the release of Mad Max, George Miller returned with a sequel that would elevate the franchise to legendary status. Mad Max 2. The Road Warrior hit theaters in 1981, and it was clear from the opening frames that this was a different beast entirely. In its place, we find a fully realized post-apocalyptic wasteland, a barren desert where gasoline is more precious than gold, and survival is a daily struggle. With a budget 5 times that of its predecessor, The Road Warrior unleashed a torrent of high-octane action sequences. The film's cinematic tanker chase is still regarded as one of the greatest action set pieces in cinema history. Critically and commercially, The Road Warrior was a triumph. It grossed $23.7 million in the US alone and received universal acclaim. Roger Ebert declared it one of the most relentless, aggressive movies ever made, while Variety praised it as a film of pure action, of kinetic energy, organized around the barest possibility bones of a plot. Part 3. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, 1985. 4 years after The Road Warrior, George Miller returned with the third installment in the Mad Max saga, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Released in 1985, this film marked a significant departure from its predecessors, both in tone and scale. Beyond Thunderdome was a big-budget Hollywood production, complete with a major star in Tina Turner as Auntie Entity, the ruthless ruler of Bartertown. The film's increased budget of $12 million allowed for more elaborate set pieces, including the iconic Thunderdome itself, a gladiatorial arena where disputes are settled with the chilling mantra, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. The film's plot sees Max exiled from Bartertown, only to stumble upon a tribe of children waiting for a Masonic figure to lead them to Tomorrowland. Commercially, Beyond Thunderdome was a success, grossing $36 million worldwide. Critics were generally positive, with the film holding an 81% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. However, audiences' reception was more mixed, with only 49% approval rating. As the credits rolled on, Beyond Thunderdome, the Mad Max saga seemed to have reached its conclusion. But then, in 2015, we got Part 4, Mad Max Fury Road. 2015. For almost 30 years, the Mad Max franchise lay dormant, but behind the scenes, the gears were turning. George Miller, the mastermind behind the series, had never truly abandoned the Wasteland. In fact, he'd been quietly developing ideas for a fourth Mad Max film since the late 1990s. The journey to bring Mad Max back to the big screen was a saga in itself. Miller's original plan was to shoot the film in 2001, with Mel Gibson reprising his role as Max. However, the September 11 attacks caused the American dollar to collapse against the Australian dollar, forcing the project into a turnaround. Over the next decade, the project evolved. Mel Gibson's controversial public behavior made his return as Max increasingly unlikely. Meanwhile, Miller's vision for the film grew more ambitious. In 2009, Miller announced the pre-production had begun on a new Mad Max film, but instead of Gibson, a new face would don the iconic leather jacket, Tom Hardy, fresh off his breakout role in Inception. The plot was deceptively simple. Max, now played with feral intensity by Tom Hardy, joins forces with the rebellious Imperator Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, as she attempts to liberate the 5 wives of the tyrannical Immortan Joe. What follows is essentially a 2-hour chase scene, but one of such breathtaking intensity and creativity that it left audiences and critics alike in awe. The film, now titled Mad Max Fury Road, was set to begin filming in 2011. Miller, now in his late 60s, directed with the energy of a man half his age. He chose to tell the story with minimal dialogue, instead relying on visual storytelling and intricate world building. The action sequences were nothing short of revolutionary. Miller's insistence on practical effects paid off in spades, creating a tangible sense of danger and spectacle that CGI simply can't match. The film's centerpiece, a massive desert storm chase, stands as one of the most impressive set pieces in cinema history. When Mad Max Fury Road finally hit theaters in 2015, it was clear that the long wait had been worth it. The film was a critical and commercial success, grossing $380.4 million worldwide against a $150 million budget. It received universal acclaim, earning a remarkable 97% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics praising its innovative action sequences, feminist themes, and Miller's uncompromising vision. The true testament to Fury Road's impact came during awards season. The film received 10 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director for Miller. It won 6, the most of any film that year. Its influence can be seen in countless films that followed, from the practical stunt work of Mission Impossible Fallout to the post-apocalyptic aesthetics of Blade Runner 2049. Part 5. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, 2024. The highly anticipated Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, finally roared into theaters on May 23, 2024, in Australia, followed by a global release the next day. Directed by the franchise visionary creator, George Miller, the film promised to delve into the origins of the character who had stolen so many scenes in Fury Road. Anya Taylor-Joy took on the challenging role of young Furiosa, with Chris Hemsworth joining the cast as the antagonist warlord Dementus. The film's narrative was on Furiosa's journey from her kidnapping by Dementus' forces to her rise as an imperator. Critics largely praised the film, with many highlighting Miller's undiminished ability to craft spectacular action sequences and build a richly detailed post-apocalyptic world. Taylor-Joy's performance as Furiosa drew particularly acclaim, with reviewers noting how she managed to capture the essence of the character while making it her own. However, the film's reception at the box office told a different story. Despite its positive reviews and the goodwill generated by Fury Road, Furiosa struggled to find its audience. The film grossed $172.8 million worldwide against a substantial budget of $168 million, making it as a box office disappointment. So what's next? Part 6. Mad Max: The Wasteland. Even as Furiosa was making its way to theaters, whispers of another Mad Max project began to circulate, titled Mad Max: The Wasteland. This film promises to be a more direct sequel to Fury Road, with Tom Hardy expected to reprise his role as Max Rockatansky. Details about the Wasteland remain scarce, but its very existence speaks to the enduring appeal of the Mad Max franchise. Despite the box office challenges faced by Furiosa, there's still a hunger for more stories from the post-apocalyptic world. George Miller, in his characteristic cryptic fashion, has hinted at grand plans for the future of the franchise. "We do have another story," he stated in a 2022 interview. The promise of the Wasteland raises intriguing questions. Will it pick up directly after the events of Fury Road? Might we see Furiosa again? And how will the financial performance of Furiosa impact the scale and ambition of this new project? Only time will tell. One thing is certain: In Miller's hands, the Wasteland is unlikely to be a simple retreat of familiar territory. Throughout the franchise history, each installment has pushed boundaries and defied expectations. From the gritty, low-budget intensity of the original Mad Max to the operatic spectacle of Fury Road, Miller has consistently found new ways to surprise and exhilarate his audience. The road ahead for Mad Max may be uncertain, but it's sure to be everything but boring. As we await more news about The Wasteland, fans can take comfort in knowing that the spirit of the Road Warrior lives on, continuing to inspire and influence action cinema around the globe. So what do you think? Are you excited about The Wasteland? How do you feel about the evolution of the franchise? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button to stay updated with more latest videos. This video was made by movie fans for movie fans.